It looks pretty miserable out there at the moment as we look at the front end of our peloton, now being led by Alpecin Deceuninck, Picnic Post NL and Movistar as well. There's an interesting team to mention.
Some mysterious reason.
Yeah. Well, you know how I like my highlighter pens. I've got my start list here of the 20.
Their go-to man. Will they be able to get in amongst the leaders? Are we going to have a big group fighting it out? Will it be a slimmed down group, which has been the way it's kind of worked out in recent years? If there's an emerging
to see something other than the front wheel in front of me.
I've got a feeling our good friends at Pro Cycling Stat might be listening to us, because I'm watching their live feed here, and me mentioning Filippo Turconi being only 19, that they've come up with a new stat on there of last teenagers starting a monument. Filippo Turconi is one of them, Milan Sanremo today, of course. They've also got listed on there Emil Impetus. It's certainly a more sinuous peloton here, one longer, thinner line. Sylvain Dillier is still the man doing the pressure, but the gap is not shifting, Hutch, is it? It's still sitting at 3:40. Lost a couple of seconds, but that's nothing.
That's within where the transponder on the motorway from the Passo del Torcino, and that's quite a long time ago now.
Oh, look at that. So actually, Jacopo Mosca saying no, shaking his head. So this is a bit more what's going on here. Sylvain Dillier saying, shall we roll through? He's got not all, but most of the Lidl Trek team back there, including Johnny Milan, sitting, what, fourth wheel there. Jasper Stuyven, former winner, in third wheel, but Mosca very deliberately shaking his head saying no. Why? Hutch, why? So why doesn't Dillier just swing off?
I was going to say, I guess they want Alpecin Deceuninck to make the running because they're carrying two of the favourites. It's you know, they've been running the bunch since the start, and I guess Lidl reckon that they can keep doing it. The question is, why isn't anyone else from Deceuninck coming up to give them a hand?
Indeed.
So, defending champion not able to defend, as we've seen so often in the past.
So there we go. Wellens' job's done.
Here we go.
That first corner, and no, it's not Jonathan Narvaez who's going to, do a sprint for as long as he can.
And Narvaez still with 3.5 kilometres of this climb to go. Hits the front. Tadej Pogacar in prime position. Filippo Ganna must be feeling a bit nervous, as indeed is Mathieu van der Poel and the rest, as they start to line out behind Jonathan Narvaez. And what a lead-out man you've got. A rider who's been in fine form since the beginning of the year. His wattage well in excess of 430 watts at this moment. How much of this can he handle? How much of this hill will Tadej Pogacar have to do on his own?
But I think everybody knows what's coming here. Pogacar's got his hands on the bottom of the bars, and when he does that, usually something important happens.
Trentin can't handle it. He's dropped out of the line.
Yeah,
so difficult moment for the Tudor Pro Cycling team.
Yeah, so this will be where Pogacar will go. You come around here, it turns into a tailwind from the side, and if you can go, then here we go.
You hold what you have, and it's tough. And there you go, as Narvaez drops off, and still 3k to the top of the climb, and this is where he really needs to make it count. The last kilometre of this climb, it shallows ever so slightly, and that will bring it back to the likes of Filippo Ganna and the rest. But it is Tadej Pogacar, and he's opening a gap, and if they let him go now, they might never see him again. It's just a few bike lengths, and Filippo Ganna crawling all over that bike, staying focused, but can he get back up onto the wheel of Tadej Pogacar? And can Mathieu van der Poel, can he react to that and fix that little problem?
Yeah, so you've got Pogacar, Ganna, van der Poel, and
Gregoire has made it on as well. Yes, superb job done by Romain Gregoire as he latches on, and this is the exclusive group on the Cipressa. The rest would be there if they could, but right now Tadej Pogacar needs to try and make this happen, and he is pushing for glory at 25k, 24k from the line.
Yeah, you can see that. So Gregoire's in trouble now, and Ganna's in trouble. So that when Van der Poel came around Ganna there, he sensed that he couldn't follow anymore.
The pain of it. That is a huge gap, and Ganna has been distanced once again, just as they approach the top, and still quite a way to go. 1.5 kilometres to the top, so problematic for Filippo Ganna, world's most preeminent time trialist, you might say. Certainly the biggest name in world time trialling. Might have a little bit of solo riding to do if he's to get back on to these riders on the descent, and indeed he's up against two of the best descenders in the business, and maybe doesn't have quite the same reputation in descending and the technical aspects of the sport, but he's not giving up on getting back in here, and it looks as if he's just about going to be able to make the junction. They have a little look around and they're going to welcome him back in. Maybe, just maybe, it might be valuable to have him there.
Yeah, it will. I mean, you know, they've hurt him enough to know that he's not going to be dropping them on the Poggio or beating them in the sprint. So, yeah, you can look on the face of Mathieu van der Poel. He's a total limit here.
Who's favourite now? Poggio still to come. The descent of the Cipressa is beckoning. If we're assuming there's 3 riders clear of the field with an advantage of the tarmac, are we going to get a 39.1 km/h average speed ride up the Poggio? He's going early. He's decided he wants to get it done as early as possible. The first response comes from Mathieu van der Poel, and already Filippo Ganna is floundering down to 2. Can Ganna stay in this one all the way to the point where it eases ever so slightly? The gap is continuing to open, but it limpet like. Mathieu van der Poel stays on the wheel of Tadej Pogacar.
Yeah, so Ganna is now, what, at 15 metres, and unless he gets out of the saddle, it's going to keep going up from here because Pogacar's fully on it again.
Tadej Pogacar continuing to be almost disdainful of the presence of Mathieu van der Poel, not looking around. Just as I say, sneaks a little look to find out what sort of damage he's done to Filippo Ganna. Significant is the answer, and it's all down to 1 against 1. Mathieu van der Poel is just going to ride this hill absolutely welded to the back wheel of Tadej Pogacar. 1 against 1.
Yeah,
UAE team members. Let's stop us into Koenig.
I'd be amazed if Van der Poel comes past on this section. Maybe nearer the top when he knows he's survived the next couple of parts, but certainly in his acceleration is going to be the same thing again.
Bang, hits it before. That would break your heart, wouldn't it? Filippo Ganna almost back on, and Tadej Pogacar knew it, and he knew that he was going to attack there, as indeed did Mathieu van der Poel. He wasn't hoodwinked into rolling through and making himself a little bit vulnerable. Stays on the wheel, and there's a little bit of a gap developing, and the first crack starts to develop as Mathieu van der Poel drops a couple of bike lengths behind. Tadej Pogacar needs to get on the pedals quickly, and gives you a sense of just how fast they go up this climb, that they're having to brake fairly heavily for these hairpin turns. Ganna tries to stay in it and keep that bungee cord at around about chase group to get to within 42 seconds. Are they still in this bike race? Could there possibly be a further twist in this one?
No, I don't think that anybody's going to come back to Pogacar and Van der Poel in the front. I think actually, you know, that looking at the way that Pogacar were on that corner and was blocked a little bit by the motorbikes, if that hadn't happened, maybe the
second margin again, still very much in it to win it right now. And now out of the saddle, Tadej Pogacar, absolutely full tilt. So we've still got a kilometre. This is precisely where he went last year, and well, everyone was able to answer the question, including Mathieu van der Poel on that occasion. And once again, looks as if Mathieu van der Poel has answered that one.
Yeah,
are we going to have a one-on-one sprint here?
Yeah, I think we're going to have these two in the front. It doesn't look like Van der Poel was going to lose the wheel at this moment. You know, if he was really struggling, you'd have been out the saddle the same amount of time as Pogacar, but he sat down slightly quicker.
He looks unruffled at the best of times, but he doesn't look. The only point where he's looked like there was a gap opening up was just before that corner where you pointed out at the end of Pogacar ended up at the back of the motorbike. But otherwise,
I wouldn't say he's unruffled at the moment. You know,
it's a bit strong, but yeah.
He's definitely glad to see the top of the climb.
Ooh.
Oh, and we weren't expecting that, and look at that. Mathieu van der Poel tries to throw one in of his own, and Tadej Pogacar wasn't expecting that. Rolling the shoulders a little bit, looking frustrated, but maybe he was tired, and Mathieu van der Poel has sensed something, and he says, you know what, I'm not waiting for the sprint here, because Pogacar has an excellent sprint, and he opens up a few bike lengths of an advantage, and Tadej Pogacar's absolutely hell-bent on getting back into the wheel. He just about makes it in, but that was slightly unexpected.
Yeah, that hurt Pogacar for sure.
A little bit of a chap.
No more attacks. What do you think, Matthew? We just roll through, the two of us, and share this one, carve it up between us.
I think that was a surprise for everybody, you know.
Decides to head to the other side of the road. Who's coming up the middle? Who's going left? Who's going right? Mathieu van der Poel, Filippo Ganna And it's all on from the front as Mathieu van der Poel gets on the pedals first. He's going for a long one. Filippo Ganna that might suit him. Is he going to be able to get on terms? Hasn't got the legs for it. Mathieu van der Poel and Tadej Pogacar is coming with a late run, but is it going to be too little too late? Because Mathieu van der Poel is going to get the win. It's another victory for Mathieu van der Poel as he takes the victory on the Via Roma, and he takes the success, another victory in Milan Sanremo. Let it out in that break, and Tadej Pogacar did everything possible to try and ditch Mathieu van der Poel. It didn't work out at the end. Indeed, van der Poel threw in a salvo of his own on the Poggio. What an absolutely fabulous edition of this race.